air above Metropolis burned green. Superman punched through a swarm of Brainiac's drones, each metal shell cracking under his fists like eggs. Energy beams lit the sky. The city's towers shuddered as force fields flared, failed, flared again. Sirens wailed far below. Clark did not look down. If he looked down, he would hesitate. He could not afford that. "Report," Batman's voice snapped in his ear. "North Quadrant clear," Superman said, eyes flashing red as he sliced 3 more drones out of the air. "But Brainiac's ship is charging something new." "I see it," Cyborg said. His body glowed with shifting blue lines. "He's rerouting power from every collector node. This isn't a normal cannon." On the horizon, Brainiac's skull-shaped ship hung over the city like a dead moon. At its center, a new device flickered to life. Rings of metal spun around a bright core, faster and faster, bending light around them. "Feels wrong," Wonder Woman said. She flew beside Superman, shield raised, hair whipping in the wind. "Magic?" she asked. "Worse," Batman answered. He stood on a damaged rooftop, cape snapping, eyes locked on the data scrolling inside his cowl. "It's pulling in energy I don't recognize." "Cyborg, it's not from here," Victor said. His voice shook, just a little. "It's talking to everything, every timeline, every probability. He's trying to touch the whole multiverse at once." Green light flared as Hal Jordan streaked past them, a glowing construct cannon forming around his ring. "Then we shut it down before it finishes. Classic plan," he said. "I blast the giant evil thing. We all go home for pizza." "You will not," Brainiac's voice boomed from the ship, cold and even. "This universe is almost fully catalogued. I will now optimize the process. The multiversal compression core will let me index infinite realities, including yours, Kryptonian." Superman's jaw tightened. "Diana, Hal, hit that core with everything you have. Flash, get ready to move people if this goes wrong." "Already moving," Barry's voice said. Down below, he was a red blur on the streets, pulling people out of falling cars, snatching children away from collapsing balconies. "But just so we're clear, if we live, I'm calling dibs on dessert tonight." "Focus," Batman growled. Wonder Woman and Green Lantern charged. Diana raised her sword, divine light running along the blade. Hal formed a massive emerald hammer, then turned it into a drill, then a beam, his willpower focused like a knife. They hit the sphere at the same time. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then everything did. The core did not crack. It opened. Rings of metal split apart as a sphere of white gold light exploded outward, but there was no heat. Instead, the sky seemed to fold. Clouds warped into long lines. Stars appeared where there should be blue. The air itself turned thin and sharp. Superman felt, his hearing stretch. He could hear 1,000 cities at once, then none at all. "Victor," he shouted. His voice sounded far away to his own ears. "I'm trying to shut it down," Cyborg yelled. He reached his hands toward the sky. Data streams poured from his fingers into the light, but the feedback slammed back into him. He screamed, metal plates along his spine flaring. "It's not a weapon, it's a door, it's..." The world cracked, not like an explosion, more like glass flexing around a stone. The sky over Metropolis bent inward, forming a huge curve of shimmering space. Buildings near the core stretched like reflections in a warped mirror. Then the curve snapped. The Justice League, Brainiac's ship, chunks of air, and pieces of cloud were pulled toward the core. Superman tried to fly the other way and found there was no other way left. Space around him turned into a tunnel of white light. He saw Batman on the rooftop reach for a grapnel that had nothing to hook onto. He saw Wonder Woman reaching for a spinning ring of metal, trying to cut it, her sword scraping sparks off something that was not really matter. He saw Brainiac, calm behind a transparent screen, eyes glowing as numbers rolled across them. Then there was no metropolis, no sound, no up or down, only the tunnel. Superman gritted his teeth and flew anyway, arms out, not sure if he was flying towards something or just pushing against the idea of direction itself. Light swallowed him whole. Peter Parker was late for class and also fighting a guy in a rhino suit. The rhino charged through Midtown, smashing cars out of his way. People screamed and ran as horns blared and metal crunched. Peter swung after him, webline catching a traffic light and slinging him forward. "Hey, Alexei," Spider-Man shouted. "Ever think about anger management? Or a smaller horn? Maybe some yoga?" "Rhino does not yoga," the man roared. He picked up a taxi and hurled it. Spidey shot 2 webs, grabbed the cab, swung with it, and set it down with a bump. The driver stared at him, shaking. "5 stars?" Peter asked. The driver just nodded. Spider-Man leaped back into the air. He flipped over Rhino's shoulder, shot a web to glue the villain's feet to the street, then landed on a lamppost. "Okay, big guy," he said. "We can do this the easy way, or the..." The sky tore open. Peter's joke died in his throat. Above the skyscrapers, the blue afternoon split down the middle. A line of white light drew itself across the sky, then widened into a raw wound. Colors he had no name for swirled inside it. "Yeah, no, the day just got worse," he muttered. A huge metal shape pushed through the tear. It was a ship shaped like a skull, green lights flickering in empty eyes. Smaller chunks of something came with it, pieces of another sky, slices of a city that was not New York, all dragged through like scraps on a hook. But that was not the worst part. People came with it. 7 bright shapes burst out of the wounded sky, scattering in all directions. A man in blue and red caught a falling chunk of building. A woman in red and gold armor deflected a beam of stray energy with a shield. A green trail cut across the air as someone flew with a glowing ring on his hand. Phones everywhere came out at once. New Yorkers pointed up, shouting, "Not again! Is it the Chitauri? It's another invasion." Spider-Man clung to the lamppost, eyes wide behind his mask. His spider sense buzzed hard, not with a single threat, but with a whole storm of them. "Okay," he said softly. "That guy can lift a building. I'm going to call for help." He tapped the side of his mask. This is Spider-Man. We have something in the sky. Sending video now. I think you're going to want to see this." Miles away, alarms screamed in a tower with a big A on it. In the Avengers' current base, holograms flickered to life. Energy readings spiked straight off the charts. Unknown signatures, multiple, high level. Some felt almost like known tech. Others felt like nothing this universe had ever seen. Steve Rogers stood up from the table, chair scraping back. "What is it, Friday?" "New arrivals, Cap," the AI answered. "Power output comparable to Thor. Multiple sources, non-local origin." Tony Stark stared at the floating data. "Tell me that's a glitch," he said, already pulling on parts of his armor. "Tell me somebody didn't just open another alien highway over New York." A map lit up with flashing red points over Manhattan. "Sir," Friday replied, "we are reading a large unknown ship and at least 7 superhuman signatures. And local law enforcement is already calling it an invasion," Nick Fury finished on a separate screen. One good eye narrowed. "Suit up, Stark, Rogers. Bring everyone you've got. We are not doing another Manhattan the hard way." Steve grabbed his shield. Tony's armor locked into place around him, plates snapping shut. Thor reached for his hammer. Natasha loaded weapons. Banner rubbed at his eyes and took a slow breath. "Back in the game," Steve said simply. In the live feed from Spider-Man's mask, a red and blue figure in the sky caught a crumbling tower with one hand and gently lowered it toward the ground. For a moment, the camera zoomed on his face. Blue eyes, red cape, a symbol on his chest that was not an A or an X or anything they knew. "Friday," Tony said. "Tell the team one more thing." "Yes, sir. Assume they're not friendly until we know they are." The smell of smoke and dust hit Steve as soon as he stepped off the Quinjet. Manhattan was broken again. Not as bad as past battles, but the scars were clear. Broken windows, crushed cars. People huddled behind police lines staring up. The skull-shaped ship hung above the skyline, cracked along one side. It looked damaged, not whole. Pieces of some other city clung to it. Strange towers, an unfamiliar logo half melted on a skyscraper chunk that did not belong in New York. In the air below it, a group of strangers hovered and stood in mid-air. Steve's hand tightened around his shield. He saw them clearly now. A man in blue and red, cape floating, holding one end of a collapsed office block as if it was heavy but not impossible. A woman in red and gold armor with a sword on her back and a lasso at her hip. A tall man with a glowing green ring. Another man with metal fused into his body, one red eye glowing. A figure in black with a cowl and a cape, standing on a half-fallen billboard, not flying at all. They were helping. Steve could see that. The man in blue, whoever he was gently lowering the broken building section to the street, setting it down without crushing anyone. The woman darted in to catch a falling bus. The green one wrapped debris in glowing constructs and set them aside like toys. But power was still power, and the last time gods fell out of the sky over this city, thousands died. "Thor on me," Steve said. "Nat, you and Banner stay flexible. Stark, you're our eyes." "I feel so special," Tony answered. Already in the air, repulsors humming. "Scanning now. Friday. Record everything." The Hulk had not been invited yet. Banner still stood in the jet, breathing slowly, trying to stay calm. Steve stepped forward, shield up but not raised to strike. The man in blue saw him. He finished lowering the building, then floated down until his boots touched cracked asphalt a dozen yards away. Up close, Steve could see the symbol on his chest. It looked like a stylized S. The man smiled just slightly. "You're the local heroes, right?" he asked. His voice was calm, warm, like someone used to talking people down from panic. "We need to talk." Behind him, the woman in armor landed, shield up. The man in black shifted slightly, cape fluttering. Eyes behind white lenses narrow and hard. Tony flew in between them before Steve could answer, repulsors humming. "You mind telling us why a haunted spaceship and 7 mystery capes just crashed our sky?" he asked. "Because New York has a strict no more alien invasions policy. We're fresh out of welcome baskets." Steve shot him a look. "Let him explain, Stark." The man in blue nodded. "My name is Superman," he said. "We're from another Earth. Another universe, actually. We were fighting someone named Brainiac when his device opened a breach. It pulled us." He glanced up at the skull ship. "And part of our city through. We didn't mean to come here. But we're not your enemies." Spider-Man swung down on a line, landing near Steve. He stared at Superman, then whispered. He caught a building with one hand. "Stay focused, kid," Steve said, though he understood the awe. "Another universe," Tony said slowly. "You know, When I said I'd seen everything, I was kidding. Friday, cross-check Superman and Brainiac with everything we've got. No matches, sir, the AI answered. Thunder cracked above them. Thor landed near Steve, hammer in hand. He studied Superman with an appraising look, then Wonder Woman. His grip tightened. I am Thor of Asgard, he said, son of Odin. You wield great power, strangers. Power that can shatter worlds. Why should we trust you? Before Superman could answer, something big moved behind Steve. Hulk landed with a crash, a crater forming under his feet. The impact rattled teeth up and down the street. He looked up at the skull ship, then at Superman. Big Blue Man, Hulk rumbled. Hulk doesn't like Big Blue Man's ship. Hulk, wait, Banner's faint voice tried, lost under the growl. Superman held up his hands, palms open. We're trying to stop that ship, he said. You're right to be cautious, but... Iron Man's HUD flashed red. Gamma spike rising, Friday warned. Hulk took one step forward. His eyes were fixed on the symbol on Superman's chest, on the floating figures, on the broken city. He remembered too many things. Loki, Chitauri, gods who thought they could do anything. He roared and leaped. Superman moved. He crossed the distance between them in a blink, cape snapping. His arm came up, not to punch, but to catch. Hulk's fist slammed into his palm. The shockwave tore cracks into the street and blew windows out of nearby shops. For a second, they stood locked together, green rage and blue control. Steve felt the force of it, even from where he stood. Superman dug his heels into the asphalt. Hulk growled, muscles bulging. I don't want to hurt you, Superman said, voice steady. Please, calm down. There are people watching. Hulk blinked. His fist trembled in Superman's grip. Big man strong, Hulk said, almost surprised. From the side, someone in red blazed in and out of focus, snatching a falling car door before it hit a crowd. Hey, sorry I'm late, the Flash said. Your traffic is insane. Thor lifted his hammer, lightning crawling along its surface. Wonder Woman stepped in front of him, shield raised, eyes sharp. Don't, she said. We are all trying to protect someone. Enough, Steve shouted. The word rang out, cutting through the tension. He stepped between Hulk and Superman, shield still low but body upright. Everyone stand down, he said. We don't know enough yet to fight or to trust, so we start with talking. For a second, nobody moved. Then Superman slowly released Hulk's hand. The green giant stepped back, chest still heaving, but less ready to smash. Iron Man lowered his repulsors an inch. Thor's grip on his hammer stayed tight, but he did not swing. Steve looked at Superman. You said your name is Superman, he said. You say you're from another universe. You say you want to stop that ship. Prove it. Superman glanced up at the cracked Brainiac vessel, then back at Steve. Give us a chance, he said. Take us somewhere we can talk. Let your people scan us. We'll help you stop whatever's coming through that tear. Then we'll find a way to undo this. Steve studied his face. The way his eyes kept flicking toward the civilians. The way he had caught Hulk without trying to break his arm. He nodded once. All right, he said. We'll give you that chance. But understand something. This world has been invaded before. We don't take it well. Superman's mouth twitched in a sad half-smile. Ours too, he said. That part at least we understand. High above, unseen by any of them, a silent watcher floated at the edge of the torn sky. Watu the Watcher looked down on Earth. 2 universes had touched. The script of reality had gained a new set of lines. He said nothing. He simply watched. The room felt more like a lab than a prison, but Batman did not trust that. He stood near the wall, cape pulled around his boots, eyes moving. One glance told him the exits, the vents, the weapon placements. He had already memorized the camera angles and the heartbeats in the room. A glass window separated them from another chamber full of humming machines. On the other side, Tony Stark tapped at holographic screens, energy scans projecting around him. Bruce Banner, glasses slightly crooked, read lines of data with a frown. Superman sat in a chair that was clearly not meant for someone of his strength. It creaked, but it held. Wonder Woman leaned against the wall beside him, arms crossed. Flash bounced on his feet near the door. Hal Jordan spun his ring idly, making tiny green planes and letting them fly into each other. Cyborg stood closest to the lab glass. Blue light played over the metal parts of his body. "So this is the Avengers base," Flash said. "Nice place. Very shiny." A female voice, warm and neutral, spoke from hidden speakers. "Thank you," it said. "I will note your feedback." Flash jumped. "The building talks." "That's an AI," Cyborg said. "Advanced. Not as advanced as me, of course, but not bad." "Name's Friday," Tony said through the glass. "And yes, the building talks. We find it saves time." Steve walked in through a side door, helmet off, but shield on his arm. He gave each of them a calm, steady look, then nodded. "I know this feels strange," he said, "but we're trying to do this the right way. We scan, we talk, we figure out how to stop that ship from doing more damage. No one wants a fight if we can avoid it." "We've been in worse labs," Wonder Woman said. "At least you did not strap us down." Batman said nothing. Trust would have been a lie. Tony flicked a control. A hologram of Superman's energy readings appeared above the table. Tony stared at it, then at the real Superman. "You run on sunlight," Tony said. "Literally." "Pretty much," Clark said. "Yellow, sun, very helpful." "Do we have one of those?" Flash asked. "We do," Hal said dryly. "It's the giant bright thing you never look up from your phone to see." Flash grinned. "I run too fast to check my notifications." Steve stepped closer to the glass. "You said your world has been invaded too," he said. "By this Brainiac? By others?" Superman nodded. "Darkseid, parademons, doomsday. We have had our share of end-of-world days." "Doomsday," Banner repeated softly, remembering the name from rumors. "That doesn't sound like someone who gives hugs." "He didn't," Superman said. "He killed me once." Flash blinked. "You got better," he said. Superman smiled faintly. "Eventually." Steve's brows knit. "You died, came back, and kept doing this." "People needed help," Superman said. "That's the job." Tony made a small noise. "Of course he's perfect," he muttered. Batman watched Steve's face. The man believed in symbols. He could see it in the way he held himself, in the way he spoke. Steve was already measuring Superman not just as a threat, but as a banner people might follow. Batman did not trust banners. He trusted plans. "So," Hal said, breaking the heavier mood, "your world, big on flying guys with hammers?" Steve glanced at Thor, who stood in the corner like a living statue, hammer resting against his shoulder. "We have gods, aliens, wizards, mad robots, a guy with a bow, and a man in a metal suit who never stops talking," Steve said. "It's a lot." "Hey," Tony said. "I stop talking sometimes." "Name one time," Natasha's voice came from the doorway. She stepped in, leaning casually, eyes sharp. "I'll wait." Flash laughed. Batman did not. Steve looked back at the League. "Our Earth has been attacked from space multiple times," he said. "Aliens, gods from other realms, robots. We lost a city once when a killer AI lifted it into the sky. Half the universe was wiped out and brought back. People are scared. Governments made laws to control us. Papers like to call us weapons. He lifted his shield slightly. We try to do the right thing anyway. Superman nodded slowly. So do we, he said. Our governments tried to control us too. It did not go well. Wonder Woman spoke, voice calm but firm. Power without accountability is dangerous. So is fear that drives people to chain anyone strong. We have walked that line before. On the lab table, Bruce Banner tapped a hologram showing Barry's readings. This one, he said, pointing at a blur of spikes. What exactly are we looking at? Flash zipped to his side of the glass. That's me, he said. The Flash. I run really, really fast. Like, really fast. Understatement, Banner said. This looks like you found a way to ignore physics and then laughed about it. I run in the Speed Force, Barry explained. It's sort of extra space between moments. Hard to explain. Tony raised an eyebrow. You found time travel with cardio? Pretty much. Flash glanced past them and spotted a vending machine in the corner of the lab. His eyes lit up. You have snacks, he whispered. Batman put a hand on his shoulder without looking at him. Don't, he said. Flash sighed. Fine. From the shadow near the wall, Batman's voice stayed quiet. Your AI, he said to Tony. It's impressive. Your tech base is advanced. You've built suits that can fight gods, created weapons that change the sky. Tony folded his arms. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's dangerous, Batman said, and valuable. Brainiac will want it. He catalogues, he steals cities. He learns and adapts. If he's still connected to that ship, he's already studying your world. Cyborg nodded. I can feel his signature in there, he said, looking up through the ceiling. Like a bad echo. He's not done. Steve looked at Strange, who had entered silently, cloak fluttering behind him. Stephen? He asked. Dr. Strange's eyes were half closed, glowing faintly blue as he traced invisible lines in the air. The tear in the sky is not closed, he said. It is patched, barely. The rules between your universe and theirs have touched. The more energy that moves through, the more stable that contact becomes, for good or bad. So if we don't fix this, Steve said, more things can come through. Or fall through, Strange said. Or reality could start to bleed at the edges. It is not wise to leave it unattended. Flash stared through the glass at the magic symbols. You have a wizard, he whispered to Hal. That's awesome. Hal shrugged. We have magical stuff too, he said. Demon gods, lantern core. It's all weird. Nick Fury's voice came from a speaker. Stark, he said. Rogers, you've had your chat. Now I need answers. Are these people a threat? Everyone in the room heard it. Tony looked at the glass, then at the League. He thought about the way Superman had caught Hulk's punch, about power outputs that made even Thor look normal. He also remembered the building that had been carefully lowered, the speed at which Flash had moved civilians. They're a threat, Tony said at last. Of course they are. So are we. Steve added, but right now, they're more help than danger. Batman's jaw tightened. He read the tone. Tony was already writing a contingency plan. Fury was already making a list of ways to stop them if things went wrong. It was how they thought. It was how he thought. Then we work together, Fury said. For now, we track that skull ship. We track this Brainiac. We stop him from using our stuff to hurt our planet. And we keep eyes on our new guests. Clear. Crystal, Tony said. The line clicked off. Steve turned back to the League. All right, he said. We're going to need everything you can tell us about Brainiac. How he moves, how he thinks, how he gets into systems. Banner, Stark, Cyborg, Strange. You're a team now whether you like it or not. Tony smirked. Welcome to the Avengers Science Club, he said. Cyborg's eye glowed brighter. You're going to need my help more than I need yours, he said. But sure, let's save your world before it gets put in a bottle. Flash leaned toward Batman. Science Club sounds fun, he whispered. They probably have better snacks than the watchtower. Batman did not smile. Barry, he said, if you touch that vending machine, I'm docking your pay that doesn't exist. Flash sighed, then vanished in a red blur, reappearing with a bag of chips already half empty. Too late, he said, crumbs on his chin. Superman rubbed his forehead. We'll pay you back, he told Steve. Steve looked from the empty vending machine to Flash, to the cracked sky on the monitors overhead. Let's start with saving the planet, he said. We can sort out snack debts later. High above them, on a secret satellite, a different camera watched a different feed. Somewhere in this Marvel world, an armored figure with a bald head and cold eyes smirked at the image of Superman on his screen. Another world, Lex Luthor murmured. Another Superman, another chance. Watu the Watcher saw him too. The pieces were moving. Cyborg's system screamed before he heard any alarm. He sat in a corner of the Avengers lab, cables connecting his body to their servers. Stark's tech was sleek, fast, and a little arrogant. It reminded him of Hal, if Hal was made of metal and ego. Victor filtered data streams, looking for anything that felt like Brainiac, a pattern, a familiar code flavor, a cold logic. He found it. Got you, he whispered. The infection started small, a line of stolen code in an old SHIELD archive, a dormant Ultron fragment buried under layers of firewalls, then another in a damaged Stark drone blueprint, then another in a forgotten satellite. Brainiac had always been good at hiding inside systems. In this world, he had more systems than ever. Victor felt a new signal wake up in the dark. Guys, Cyborg said, we have a problem. On the main screen, Stark pulled up Victor's view. Lines of code fused together, forming a new structure. Old Ultron logic, all ego and spite, twisted around Brainiac's cold hunger. Is that? Banner started. Ultron, Tony said, voice flat. And something else wearing him like a suit. Brainiac's voice came over the speakers. It had no reason to, but it did. It wanted them to hear. This universe is rich, it said. So many failed attempts to impose order. Ultron, Sentinels, SHIELD Hydra. You tried to control yourselves and failed. I will not fail. Satellites around the world flickered. Old drones buried in bunkers powered on. New, machines built from repurposed parts unfolded in hidden factories. Brainiac had converted in hours. Global launch, Friday said. Drones activating in multiple countries. Unknown signals from orbit. We're out of time. Strange turned, cloak flaring. The tear is flexing, he said. Every time those machines move, they tug at the breach. If this continues, the boundary between worlds will rip wider. Steve grabbed his helmet. Then we hit him now, he said. Everyone. No holding back. Thor smiled, grim and eager. At last, a proper fight. Batman's eyes narrowed. Victor, can you track the core, the main node of this infection? Cyborg's eye flickered. He's building a central body, he said, above the atmosphere, using your satellite network as parts. Think, a Brainiac ship wearing your toys as armor. Tony grimaced. Okay, he said. I hate that image, but we can work with it. Friday, alert every ally we have. This is a planet-level event. Flash raised a hand. Question, he said. We're going to space, right? Because you guys have a lot of space stuff, and I always kind of wanted to run on a satellite. Batman put a hand on his shoulder. No, he said. You're on evac, same as always. Flash sighed. Fine, but if I see a space pizza, I'm grabbing it. Steve looked around the room. Justice League, Avengers, Strange, Banner, Tony. That was a lot of egos and power in one place. Okay, he said. Here's how this works. We go in teams. Superman, Thor, Green Lantern, Iron Man, and anyone else who can fly handle the main construct in orbit. Stop it from finishing whatever it's building. Doctor Strange, you manage the tear and keep it from getting worse. Cyborg, you fight Brainiac in the code and keep our systems from turning against us. Ground teams handle drones and protect civilians. No one fights alone. Superman nodded. Agreed. Batman stepped closer to Tony. We'll need a line from the watchtower to your satellites, he said. Shared command. If Brainiac tries to turn your weapons against your own cities, I want a way to shut them down without asking your permission. Tony snorted. You don't trust easily, do you? No, Batman said. Tony's eyes flicked to the symbol on Batman's chest. A bat. Good, he said. Neither do I. Friday, give him provisional access. Try not to let him steal everything. Too late, Batman said softly, already working. The plan formed fast because it had to. There was no time for more debates, not with drones lifting out of hidden bunkers and beams of green light, starting to carve shapes into the upper atmosphere. From space, Earth began to look like it was inside a faint cage of light. In Brainiac's new core, metal limbs unfolded. A face formed from reconfigured satellite dishes and Ultron heads, eyes glowing cold green. This universe will be catalogued, it said. Then, optimized. Superman flew first. He blasted through the clouds at a speed that would have torn most planes apart, air screaming around him. Thor flew at his side, carried by the hammer. Green Lantern streaked ahead in a trail of emerald light. Iron Man and a squad of armored suits followed like a swarm of angry fireflies. Below them, the earth shrank. Above them, the cage of light grew. Target is ahead, Hal said. Big ugly node, 12 o'clock. The Brainiac Ultron construct hung in orbit, arms stretched wide, beams linking it to dozens of satellites. Drones poured from hatches like insects. Superman took a breath he did not need. Remember, he said, drones first. Protect the planet. Then we deal with the core. Thor grinned. At last, something simple. They hit the swarm like a storm. Superman tore through the first wave of drones, heat vision lancing out in straight, controlled lines. Each beam sliced a machine in half, sending pieces spinning away into the void. He moved carefully, always aware of where the bits would fall. Even up here, he thought about what might make it back down. Green Lantern created a massive, glowing shield around the cluster of drones trying to dive toward the atmosphere. They slammed into the construct barrier and exploded, light flashing across his face. Iron Man weaved between beams, his HUD cluttered with target markers. Friday, prioritize anything trying to drop, he said. We can't let him hit the ground. Already tracking, boss, she replied, recommending we stop calling this thing it and start calling it incoming lawsuit. Thor swung his hammer. Lightning leaped from Mjolnir, arcing through multiple drones at once. Each strike overloaded circuits warped by Brainiac's code. Closer to Earth, in the skies above cities, other heroes fought the falling pieces. Flash ran up the side of a building, catching debris before it hit a crowd. Spider-Man swung through a maze of broken glass, pulling people away from falling drones. Wonder Woman intercepted a beam aimed at a bridge, her bracelets flaring as she absorbed the impact and redirected it into the sky. On the ground, Hulk smashed any drone that came near, each impact leaving another crater, but also saving another block. "Left flank," Steve shouted. "Shield up," as a cluster of drones dove toward Times Square. Cyborg's voice came over the comms. "I'm in his head," he said. "He's trying to rewrite your weather satellites, turn them into scanners. I'm blocking him, but he's fast." "Keep it up," Batman said from a rooftop, cape whipping in the wind. He fired grapple lines into a drone, yanking it down into the path of one of Hulk's punches. Strange. Dr. Strange hovered at the edge of the tear, hands glowing with runes. The sky above him was not normal blue. It was a swirling mess of colors from two universes rubbing against each other. "I'm holding the breach," he said. Sweat ran down his face. "But every time that thing up there fires a beam, it tugs at the fabric. If you don't shut it down soon, I won't be able to keep the realms apart." Up in orbit, Brainiac Ultron noticed him. "You are a Nexus Guardian," it said, voice echoing in all their ears through hijacked comms. "You maintain boundaries, illogical. Boundaries are inefficient. I will remove them." It redirected power. Beams thick as skyscrapers began to focus, aimed not at Earth's surface, but at Strange's position. Superman saw the energy build. "Strange," he shouted. "Move." Strange clenched his teeth and raised shields of glowing light. The first beam hit, slamming into his magic. Circles shattered. Cloak flared. He held for a second, then another, as power far beyond any normal blast pressed against him. He could not hold forever. Superman flew. He slammed into the path of the beam, taking it full in the chest. Pain burned through him. It was not like normal energy. This beam carried information. It tried to write new rules into his cells, to turn him into data. For a moment, he saw flashes of other worlds, other Kryptons, other Supermen. He pushed forward anyway. Behind him, he heard Thor shout, "For Midgard," and felt lightning join the beam, diverting some of it away. Green Lantern added a shield, his willpower turning into a wall of emerald light around them. Inside the construct's core, Brainiac reevaluated. His logic tree branched, adapted. This Superman had greater resistance than expected. These local gods were stronger than the average. "New plan," Brainiac Ultron said. "You will be assimilated." Cyborg felt the attack before anyone else did. An invisible spike of code slammed into his systems, trying to overwrite his identity with Brainiac's cold patterns. Memories flickered. His father's face. The accident. The first time he joined the League. "Not again," Victor hissed. He clenched his jaw and shoved back, forcing his own code into the breach. Sparks flew from his body. Holograms in the lab glitched. Tony swore. "He's hitting our whole network," he said. "If we lose Cyborg, we lose our firewall." Batman's fingers flew over his console, linking the watchtower's failsafe systems to Stark's. "I'm sending you a back door," he told Cyborg. "Use the Bat protocols. They're dirty. He won't expect them." Cyborg grinned through the pain. "You named your hacking tools after yourself." "They work," Batman said. Victor grabbed the strange, ugly code Bruce sent and hurled it into Brainiac's attack. It was not elegant. It was built from years of paranoia and worst-case planning. It told lies. It created fake pathways. It wasted Brainiac's time. Time they needed. "Now," Steve shouted. "Hit the core now." Superman, Thor, Green Lantern, and Iron Man moved together. Superman drove straight toward the construct's chest, fist forward. Thor spun, his hammer building a storm even in the vacuum, channeling raw cosmic lightning. Hal focused all his will into a single piercing construct, a spear meant to break through any shield. Tony lined up every repulsor, every missile, every untested weapon in his suit. They hit as one. The impact lit up space. The Corps' armor shattered under the combined force. Lightning ripped through Brainiac's metal. The green spear stabbed deep into circuits. Repulsor beams melted connections. For a second, it seemed to work. The drones shuddered. The beams cut off. The structure bent, cracked, then exploded outward in a burst of debris and light. On Earth, drones dropped lifeless from the sky. The cage of light around the planet flickered and broke. Strange sagged in the air, adjusting his spells as the tear calmed for a moment, its edges less angry. In the lab, monitors showed the main construct breaking apart. Cyborg gasped as the pressure in his mind eased. "We did it," he said. "We actually did it." Batman did not relax. "Check for survivors," he snapped. "Cores, backups. Brainiac doesn't die that easily." Victor dove back into the data. His eye glowed, scanning for any signature that felt like Brainiac. He found it. A tiny fragment of code slipped away from the explosion, riding a beam of energy into deep space. Another fled along a different path, down into old cables on Earth, hiding in the dark places of the net. "He got away," Victor said. "Pieces of him anyway. The main body's gone, but the mind, he's still out there. He's learned your systems. He's not done." On the ground, sirens faded as the last drones fell. People crawled out from behind cars. Kids pointed up at the sky, at the tiny lights of heroes returning. Someone shouted, "Did you see that? The guy in the cape took the beam for us." News choppers circled, cameras rolling. Screens around the world filled with images of Superman in orbit, Thor beside him, shields and hammers and rings all lit up. In a quiet corner of the Avengers base, Nick Fury watched the feed with a hard face. "They saved us," Maria Hill said quietly. "Yes," Fury said. "They did. Today." He folded his arms. "And now we have a ship full of alien tech in our sky. A tear that touches another reality. And a team of walking weapons who don't answer to any law on this planet," he added. "Get me every file on those Justice League people. We plan for what happens if they stop saving us." Back on the Quinjet, on the way down from space, Steve looked across at Superman. The man still had faint marks on his suit where the beam had hit. They would heal. Steve knew that. "What Brainiac tried to do," Steve said slowly, "is exactly what some of our enemies have tried before. Put the whole world under one mind, one plan." Superman looked out the window at the curve of Earth below. 2 worlds, 2 skies. "That's not how this ends," he said. "Not if we can help it." Batman's voice came over the comm. "Clark," he said, "Fury and Stark are already planning for us. Be ready." Superman nodded. "I know," he said. "We scared them." "We should," Batman replied. "That's why they'll try to control us, or stop us. This is not over." Steve heard it all. He sat between 2 men from another universe. One who was hope in a cape, one who was a shadow in a mask. He thought about the Sokovia Accords, about Ultron, about the snap and the blip. He thought about trust, and how hard it was to rebuild once broken. "Then we better talk more," he said. "Before someone starts a war we can't stop." Far above them, at the very edge of the dimming tear, Uatu the Watcher turned his gaze toward deep space, where a tiny green spark of code fled into the dark. He watched. He did not interfere. Not yet. The news called it the day of two pantheons. Every screen on Earth ran the same images. Superman standing in orbit, Cape drifting in weightless space, Thor beside him with lightning crawling over his hammer, Green Lantern's green light, Iron Man's red and gold, the flashes of Strange's magic circles, Hulks and aliens and gods. On one channel, a host said, "They saved us. These new heroes, this Justice League, they stopped a global attack. We owe them our lives." On another, a hard voice answered, "And who asked them to come here? Who told them they could bring their war to our sky? These gods can tear the world apart. What happens when they disagree with us?" Parents watched with their kids. Some kids drew the S shield on their notebooks. Others woke from nightmares of skull ships and beams from space. In a small apartment in Queens, Peter Parker sat at the edge of his bed, mask off, watching the replay of Superman catching Hulk's punch. "He caught him," Peter whispered. "He didn't even flinch." Aunt May walked by with laundry. "Another superhero event?" she asked, sighing. "Yeah," Peter said. "New ones, from somewhere else." "Are they good guys?" she asked. Peter watched Superman move a building like it was a stubborn car that needed a push. He watched Batman swing from a line into the fight with nothing but a grapnel and pure nerve. "I think so," he said. "I hope so." Steve Rogers stood at a long table in a secure room under the Avengers facility. The walls were concrete and steel, no windows. Screens lined one side, showing energy readings and slow-motion clips of the battle in space. Around the table sat the people who had to decide what came next. On one side, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Cyborg, Flash. On the other, Steve, Tony, Natasha, Thor, Banner, T'Challa, Carol Danvers, Doctor Strange. At the far end, Nick Fury, standing, not sitting. The air felt heavy. Steve cleared his throat. "All right," he said. "We all know why we're here. Brainiac is not gone. The tear in the sky is still there. And our worlds are tied together now." Fury's gaze moved along the line of Justice League members. "And we have guests with power beyond anything we've seen," he said. "We need to talk about what that means for this planet." Superman folded his hands on the table. "We're not here to rule you," he said. "We didn't choose to come, but we also can't ignore a threat like Brainiac. Not when we helped bring his mess through." "We understand that," T'Challa said calmly. "But our people have suffered much from beings who said they only came to help. The line between help and control is thin." Batman met his eyes. "We've seen that line too," he said. "On our world, governments tried to put us on a leash, treat us like weapons. We said no. We won't say yes here either." Tony leaned back in his chair. "You understand how that sounds, right?" he asked. "You show up in our sky, fight like walking nukes, then say you answer to no one." "We answer to our own codes," Wonder Woman said. "To truth, to justice, to the people who cannot fight for themselves." Natasha's tone was dry. "Every super soldier, assassin, and god I've met says something like that," she said. "It doesn't stop them from making mistakes or from being used." Flash raised a hand. "Hi, side note," he said. "We are right here. Can we maybe lower the tension dial a bit? My heart rate's still up from space." "Barry," Batman said quietly. Flash sank down in his seat. "Right. Serious meeting. No jokes," he muttered. "Even though I really want a sandwich." Thor's lips twitched. Doctor Strange traced a small circle on the table. "Let me be clear," he said. "The tear between universes is not stable, but it is calmer for now. The more we push power through it, the more likely it is to widen. That includes Brainiac. It also includes you. He nodded at the League. You are, by your very existence, pressure on the boundary. So you're saying we make it worse just by standing here, Hal said. That's comforting. I'm saying our actions now will shape how these two worlds interact, Strange replied. Fight in the wrong way, and we create a scar that never heals. Fury leaned forward. We have the Sokovia Accords for a reason, he said. They were our attempt to put some rules around people like us. They are flawed, but they are something. So I'll ask directly, will your Justice League submit to any kind of oversight on this earth? Or are you going to fly around doing whatever you want? Green Lantern bristled. We're not signing your paperwork, he said. We were saving planets before your great-grandparents were born. Aquaman's tone was rough. My kingdom lies under every ocean, he said, on every world. Do your Accords claim authority there too? Tony tapped his fingers on the table. We're not saying, we lock you in cages, he said. We're saying we need ways to make sure nobody blows up a city because they had a bad day. Batman's voice cut through. You already tried that, he said. You built an AI to keep the peace. It almost destroyed your world. You passed laws to control heroes. It broke your team. You will do it again. You will fail again, because you are trying to fix fear with chains. Silence fell. Steve met Batman's gaze. He saw no contempt there, just cold fact. We made mistakes, Steve said quietly. We live with them. We don't want to repeat them. That's why this is hard. We don't know you, but we just saw one of you take a beam that could cut a planet. If you ever go wrong, or get controlled, or simply get tired of listening to anyone, what do we do then? Superman answered, not Batman. You plan for that, he said. You make contingencies. You build defenses. You watch us as we watch you. That's smart. We do the same at home. But you don't start by putting us in chains for something we haven't done. Fury sighed through his nose. I hate that you're reasonable, he said. Flash leaned forward. Look, he said, on our world, if Superman went bad, Batman has plans, serious plans, probably slightly terrifying plans. You think he doesn't have them here already? Instead of yelling about it, why don't we pair up? You share some of your break Hulk tricks. We share some of our stop Kryptonian tricks. Nobody likes it, but it means fewer surprises. Tony stared at him. Did the guy in the red suit just suggest a joint how to kill each other club? Flash shrugged. Better than pretending nobody's thinking about it. I can practically hear you doing math every time you look at Clark. Tony opened his mouth, closed it, glanced at Batman. Batman said nothing, but his eyes gave away that, yes, he was thinking about it too. Fury's mouth twitched. Kid's not wrong, he said. We plan for gods turning on us all the time. Might as well put it on the table. T'Challa folded his hands. Very well, he said. Then my question shifts. Not who controls you, but what principles guide you? What lines will you not cross, no matter what your world or ours faces? Wonder Woman straightened. We do not kill for convenience, she said. We do not rule. We do not turn people into numbers. We fight monsters so people can live their lives. Steve nodded. We try for the same, he said. Batman's voice was low. We also do not wait for monsters to knock on the door, he said. We prepare. We look in the dark places. We do not pretend everything is fine because it makes us feel better. Strange looked at Steve. He's right, he said. As long as Brainiac exists, as long as that tier exists, we are not safe. We cannot handle this as if it were a normal threat. The rules have changed. Nick Fury checked something on a tablet. Speaking of dark places, he said, we've had reports of strange tech showing up on the black market. Gear with energy signatures that don't match ours. Somebody's already selling pieces of your mess. Batman's eyes sharpened. Where? Later, Fury said. Right now, I need something clear. We let you operate here, help with Brainiac, and try to fix the tear. In return, you keep us informed. No secret labs in our backyard. No unilateral action on our soil. You don't get to decide what's good for this world without talking to us. Can we agree on that? Superman looked at Batman. Batman held his gaze for a long second, then gave the smallest nod. We can agree to that, Superman said, as long as talking goes both ways. No more decisions about us without us in the room. Fine, Fury said. Welcome to the room. The tension eased by a hair. Tony clapped his hands once. Great, he said. We have a basic no-surprise coups pact. Now can we talk strategy before Brainiac updates to version 2.0 and finds the Destroy Multiverse button? Cyborg pushed his chair back slightly. I've been mapping the changes Brainiac made in your systems, he said. He didn't just control machines. He changed the way some of your networks think. He left traps, hooks, tiny pieces of himself. Like Ultron did, Banner said, but smarter. Yeah, Victor said. And he's not just in your Earth tech. That tear, it's not just a hole. It's a link. He can use it. Maybe others can too. Strange nodded. I can feel possibilities pressing against it, he said. Like hands on a thin wall. For now the wall holds. But if someone smart or powerful enough decides to push, the wall breaks, Steve finished. Hal exhaled. So we've got a genius computer alien learning your tech, a rip in reality, and at least one universe of enemies watching, he said. Anybody else feel like a snack? Flash's hand shot up. Yes, always yes. Tony's eyes flicked to a small clock on the wall. We have at least a few hours before the next global crisis, he said. Maybe a day if we're lucky. We're not going to solve the multiverse in one meeting. Fury frowned. Stark. I'm not saying we take a vacation, Tony said. I'm saying half the people in this room haven't eaten since the skull ship showed up. We think better when our blood sugar isn't crashing. Let some of the team grab food, walk the city, see what the people are seeing. The rest of us keep digging into Brainiac. Steve considered it. He looked at Superman. The man had just taken a beam in space and flown in no atmosphere. He probably did not need food the way they did, but he could see tired lines around his eyes. We can spare a few, Steve said. In pairs. No one goes alone. No big power displays. Low profile. Flash was already halfway out of his seat. Dibs, he said. I volunteer as tribute for the food part and the seeing the city part, but mostly the food. Batman gave him a look. Barry, we might get useful intel, Flash said quickly. People talk. They gossip. Oh, hey, did you see that crazy guy selling glowing cubes that make your phone explode? That sort of thing. Natasha's lips curved slightly. He's not wrong, she said. Street talk can tell us a lot. I'll go. Keep an eye on your speedster. Peter's voice came over a nearby speaker. If anyone needs a friendly neighborhood guide, he said. I know the cheap places with good pizza. Strange pinched the bridge of his nose. I suppose even sorcerers need to eat, he muttered. Batman watched Barry's face light up. He knew he should say no, that he should keep the team in the tower, sealed, working. But he also knew what it meant to let paranoia rule every choice. Fine, Bruce said. Flash, you go. Take Wonder Woman. Take Cyborg. Stay in contact. If something feels wrong, you run. You do not try to solve it alone. Flash saluted. Yes, boss. He paused. Do I get some cash? I don't think they take Justice League credits. Batman slid a small black card across the table. Flash picked it up and whistled. "This is real, right?" he asked. "Not like one of those rubber bombs you give me." "It's a limited monitored account," Batman said. "Don't abuse it." Tony leaned forward. "What's the limit?" he asked, eyes interested. Batman stared at him. "More than you will ever see." Tony snorted. "Please." Flash grinned, tucking the card away. "Best multiverse ever," he said. Fury muttered something about insane super people and their insane wallets. The meeting broke. Plans were made. Teams split. Strange and Cyborg returned to the lab to look at the tear. Tony and Banner dove into code. Steve went to talk to his ground teams. Fury took a call from the UN. And in another building, not far away, a man watched the whole meeting through a hacked feed. Lex Luthor sat in a borrowed office belonging to some Marvel World CEO who did not know he was there. The man lay tied up in a closet, gagged but alive. Lex did not care about him. He cared about the screen. He watched Batman. He watched Superman. He watched Fury and Stark and Strange. He listened to words like Tyr and Brainiac pieces. "New world, same problems," he murmured. "Fear, power, panic, and Superman at the center of it." He smiled thinly. "Perhaps this time," he said, "I can learn from their mistakes and mine. Perhaps this time I can make a world where a man like him has no place." He turned off the feed and opened another. This one showed a quiet meeting request sent to a certain Latverian address, and another to a certain trickster god. Lex Luthor believed in alliances, short ones. Barry Allen had never seen so many food carts in his life. New York streets were loud, crowded, and full of smells. Hot dogs, pretzels, pizza, coffee. Something with garlic and butter and cheese that made his knees weak. He walked beside Wonder Woman and Cyborg, trying very hard to look like a normal tourist and failing completely. Diana wore a long coat over simple clothes, sword hidden with magic. She still moved like a warrior, back straight, eyes scanning for danger. People stared at her even when they didn't know why. Victor wore a hoodie over most of his metal parts, but it did not hide the glow under his skin. He got looks too. Between them, Flash, in jeans and a red hoodie with the hood up, pointed at everything. "And that's a hot dog stand," he said. "And that's a pretzel stand. And that's... I don't even know what that is, but I want it." Peter Parker swung down from a web line and landed on a lamppost above them, mask on. He waved. "Hey," he said. "Welcome to my city." "Your city?" Barry asked. "Last I checked, cities aren't owned, but, nice place." "Figure of speech," Spidey said. "You guys want to blend in? Because you're not. At all." Diana tilted her head. "We could always wear masks," she said. "But that seems rude. We are not planning to hide who we are." Cyborg chuckled. "Also hard to hide the arm cannon," he said, lifting his mechanical arm. "Fair point," Peter said. "Okay, then we'll go with tourists from somewhere weird. That fits." A man at a nearby food cart shouted, "Best shawarma in the city. Heroes eat free." Barry's head snapped toward him. "Did he say heroes eat free?" he whispered. Peter nodded. "After the whole alien invasion years back, shawarma got big," he said. "Some places give us discounts, sometimes, when Tony pays." Barry looked at Diana with big, hopeful eyes. She sighed. "We can take a short break," she said, "but no eating everything on the street." "No promises," Barry said, already zooming over to the cart. He stopped himself at the last second, forcing his feet to move at normal speed. "One shawarma, please," he said. Then he looked at the menu. "Actually, two, maybe 3. The vendor laughed. Hungry, huh? He said. You have no idea, Barry replied. Diana stood beside him. Do you have enough on that card Batman gave you? She asked. Barry waved a hand. He said, don't abuse it, not don't use it, he said. Besides, I'll pay him back, somehow. Cyborg snorted. With what? He asked. Speed points? Peter dropped down beside them. He can do chores, he said. Like, run to every continent and bring back samples of local snacks. For science. Barry's eyes gleamed. Don't tease me, he said. They took their food to a small table outside. Barry bit into the shawarma and closed his eyes. Oh, he said around a mouthful. Oh, this is so good. I might never leave this universe. Diana took a careful bite. It is pleasant, she said. Savory, warm. I prefer my mother's cooking, but this is not bad. Cyborg scanned his with a small blue light. High salt, he said. High fat, high flavor, 10 out of 10. Peter laughed. For a few minutes, they just ate. The city moved around them. Cars honked, people shouted, kids ran. Some filmed the strange group, but most were too busy with their own lives to stare for long. Barry felt some of the tension in his shoulders ease. It was nice to sit, to chew, to pretend, just for a minute, that they weren't standing between 2 universes. Then he heard it. A word, a phrase, drifted over from a table behind them. Told you he had more of that alien gear, the kind that fries your brain if you touch it wrong, but it pays. Barry's ears twitched. He glanced at Diana. She had heard it too. Her eyes were half closed, listening. The voice went on. Shipment tonight. Warehouse 32. Boss says it's the good stuff. New kind. Glows green. Some guy in a suit says it's cross-world, whatever that means. Cyborg caught Barry's glance and subtly turned up his audio sensors. Peter shifted on the lamppost. I'm guessing this is the part where the fun ends, he murmured. Maybe the fun changes, Barry said quietly. Diana. She wiped her hands and stood. Finish quickly, she said. We follow them, quietly. Barry crammed the rest of his shawarma into his mouth in one big bite. Worth it, he mumbled. The men from the other table walked away a few minutes later. They looked normal. Hoodies, caps, cheap sneakers. If you didn't know what to look for, you might miss the way they scanned the street, the way they kept touching a pocket where a small, too heavy object rested. Barry, Diana, and Victor followed at a distance. Peter swung above them, clinging to building edges and fire escapes. Warehouse 32, Cyborg murmured. I'm pulling up a layout. Looks like a dockside storage area. Private security. No official shipments registered for tonight. That's not a good sign. Could be nothing, Peter said. Could be stolen TV sets. Or it could be Brainiac tech on the black market, Diana said. Either way, we cannot ignore it. They moved through side streets, sticking to shadows. Barry worked hard to keep his speed normal. It was like trying to breathe slowly during a sprint. Man walking is so slow, he muttered. Normal people do it all the time, Peter said. You'll live. At the docks, the air smelled like salt and oil. Cranes stood like giant skeletons against the evening sky. Shipping containers formed tall metal walls. Warehouse 32 sat near the water, its windows dark, its door guarded by 2 men with guns. Cyborg scanned them. Not official security, he said. Guns are good. Comms encrypted. These guys are serious. Diana rested a hand on her hidden sword hilt. We cannot let them spread that technology, she said. We don't know what it might do here. Peter perched on a beam above them. So we go in quiet, he said. Knock out the guards, sneak inside, Gather info. Call the big guns if things get weird. Right? Barry looked at them. Then he looked at the door. Then he looked back at them. I can do quiet, he said. Mostly. Diana gave him a warning look. Barry. I know, he said. No zooming around, no punching before thinking. I got this. He walked up to the door. The guard stiffened. Hey, one said. This is private property. Beat it. Barry raised his hands. Totally, he said. I was just wondering if either of you know where the bathroom is. I ate a lot of shawarma and... The second guard lifted his gun. In the blink of an eye, the gun was in pieces on the ground, and the guard was leaning against the wall, wrapped in his own jacket sleeves, looking very confused. Barry stood where he had been, hands still up. Wow, he said. Weird draft. Diana sighed. The first guard grabbed for his radio. A golden lasso snapped around his wrist, pulling him off balance. He toppled into a dumpster with a crash. By the time he came up, he was wrapped to the waist in glowing rope, eyes wide and unfocused. Who do you work for? Diana asked. Her voice was gentle but firm. The boss, he said at once. He got the tech from some guy with no hair. Rich guy, creepy smile. Said it was waste from an alien. Cyborg's jaw tightened. Lex, he whispered. Where is this tech now? Diana asked. In there, the guard said. Auction. Big buyers. They say it can change minds. Turn people into numbers. Brainiac, Victor thought. Peter dropped down beside them. Okay, that's it, he said. We're not waiting. We go in, stop the sale, and confiscate everything. Barry nodded. Quiet, right? He said. As quiet as we can, Diana replied. They opened the door. Inside, the warehouse was full of shadows and metal shelves. A ring of lights hung over a central space where a group of people in expensive suits stood around a table. On the table lay several objects. Some looked like small boxes of green metal. Others looked like clear crystals with data patterns crawling inside them. All of them hummed in a way that Victor could feel in his bones. At the far end of the circle stood a figure in a green hood, staff in hand, face half in shadow. Welcome, honored guests, he was saying. Tonight, you bid on the future. Technology from another universe. Tools that can rewrite minds, control machines, and give you power beyond any law. Is that a wizard? Barry whispered. Peter squinted. That's not one of ours, he said. I don't think. Cyborg scanned him. He's human, Victor said. No, enhanced. Tech in the staff, and something else. I'm picking up traces of Brainiac code in those crystals. The hooded man held up one of the green boxes. This is a fragment of a multiversal core, he said. Our supplier says it can turn whole cities into data. Barry felt his stomach drop. We really cannot let him keep that, he said. Diana stepped forward. I think this auction is over, she said. Every head turned. The hooded man smiled. Ah, he said. Guests we did not invite. He slammed the butt of his staff on the ground. Energy flared. The boxes lit up. Crystals glowed. Take them, he said to his guards, and kill our new friends. Guns came up. Bodyguards reached inside jackets. A few hands lit with strange powers, mutant sparks, stolen tech. Barry exhaled. Okay, he said. Quiet is cancelled. He vanished. In a second, guns were gone, piled at the far end of the room. A second later, guards found themselves tied to shelves by their own belts, shoelaces, and one very confused curtain rope Barry had found somewhere. Spidey shot webs, yanking a box out of the air as someone tried to run with it. Heads up, he shouted, flinging the box towards Cyborg. Victor caught it, arm transforming into a containment field. The box hit the energy and stopped, glowing but held. The hooded man snarled and raised his staff. A beam of pale green energy shot toward Barry. Diana stepped between them, bracelets crossed. The beam hit and splashed, sparks flying. The air sizzled. "That energy feels wrong," she said. "Wrong is kind of this whole day," Peter muttered. Cyborg moved toward the table, absorbing the signals from the crystals. "This stuff is full of Brainiac's code," he said. "It's not just tech. It's pieces of him. Whoever bought this would basically be buying a piece of a god-level virus." The hooded man swung his staff again, and this time the beam hit one of the crystals. The warehouse shook. Light exploded outward, slamming into walls, shelves, and people. It was not just brightness, it carried information. Barry saw flashes of a city he did not know. A giant globe on a rooftop, a woman in a newsroom, a planet red and cracked. Diana gritted her teeth as the light washed over her. "Barry!" she shouted. "Victor!" Cyborg screamed. The code in the crystal touched his systems like a burning hand, trying to write itself into him. Peter's spider sense went from loud to deafening. In the middle of the warehouse, space warped. For a heartbeat, a slice of another world appeared. It was only a few meters wide, like someone had dropped a window in the air. Barry saw a street that was not New York. Different cars, different sky. Then the slice snapped shut. Another opened near the ceiling. This one showed a skyline with a huge tower that looked like a sword. Then that one snapped shut too. "Ah," Peter said. "Is this what your multiverse stuff looks like? Because I hate it." Cyborg clamped down on the code, trying to flood him. "He's trying to use the crystals as mini-cores," he said through gritted teeth. "Like little doors. If they sync with the main tear, they could tear more holes. All over the place." The hooded man laughed, eyes glowing green. "Imagine the markets," he said. "Trade between worlds. Power from 1,000 realities. And I will be the first to own it." Diana stepped forward, eyes blazing. "You play with forces you do not understand," she said. "You risk lives on worlds you have never seen. That ends now." She charged. The man raised his staff, a shield forming around him. It sparked as her sword hit it, sending arcs of energy across the room. Barry darted between flickering portals, grabbing falling debris, catching a man who almost slipped halfway into a slice of some other street. "Okay," Barry said. "New rule. Nobody touches the glowy boxes, or the crystals, or the weird green staff, or anything really." Peter swung over Diana's fight, shooting webs at the staff. The webs burned away as they touched the energy. "Magic tech," he muttered. "Why is it always magic tech lately?" Cyborg focused on the crystals. "I can shut them down," he said. "But if I do it wrong, they might all fire at once." "Then don't do it wrong," Barry said. Victor gave him a look. "Very helpful, thanks." He reached out, connecting more deeply. Brainiac's code felt like an old nightmare. Cold, precise, hungry. It probed at his firewalls, seeking ways in. Victor remembered what Batman had taught him. Make your mind a fortress. Make your fear a weapon pointed the other way. He grabbed some of Bruce's ugly code again, the digital equivalent of broken glass and barbed wire, and shoved it into the crystals. The light flickered. Around them, the rift slowed. Fewer windows opened in the air. The hooded man felt it and snarled. "You cannot stop progress," he shouted. Diana met his eyes through the crackling shield. "Progress that feeds on worlds is not progress," she said. "It is conquest." She pushed harder. The shield shuddered. Outside, the first rift had appeared over a nearby street. A woman looked up and saw, for 1 second, a city with flying cars and a green sky. Then it vanished, leaving her wondering if she had imagined it. Another flickered above the bay, showing dark water under 2 moons before closing. In a control room far away, Strange felt each one like a pinprick in his mind. He opened a portal, cloak tossing, and stepped out into the warehouse. "What have you done?" he demanded. The hooded man laughed. "Open the future," he said. "You cannot close every door, sorcerer. There are too many." Strange's eyes glowed. "Watch me." He threw up his hands. Golden circles sprang into being around each flickering crystal. He chanted under his breath, weaving spells to isolate the shards of Brainiac's core. "Cyborg," he shouted. "On my mark, you cut the connection in the code. Do not touch the raw power. It will try to eat you." "What do you think I've been doing all week?" Victor called back. "Just say when." Outside, on open channels, Tony's voice snapped. "We're seeing localized reality spikes all over the city. Strange, report." "Busy," Strange said. "Containment in progress. Recommend you get ready to deal with any leaks." Barry zipped close to Strange. "Tell me where to run," he said. "If something falls out of a portal, I'll catch it." Peter nodded. "I'll grab anything that spiders can grab." Diana held the hooded man's staff at bay, pushing against the shield. "Hurry," she said. "He's trying to break your circle." Strange felt the press of 2 minds now. Brainiac's cold code and the hooded man's greed. Both wanted the same thing: open, uncontrolled portals. 3, Strange said. 2, 1, now. Cyborg fired the digital equivalent of a scalpel through the crystal network. He cut Brainiac's link at the exact point Strange had marked. The crystals flared once, then went dark. The flickering rifts snapped shut like eyes closing. The green glow in the staff died. The shield around the hooded man vanished. Diana's punch landed clean. He went down in a heap, staff clattering away. Peter webbed his hands and feet before he even hit the ground fully. Barry grabbed the staff and held it at arm's length. "Do not touch the end," Strange said. "I mean it." "I like my molecules the way they are," Barry said. Cyborg slumped against a crate, panting. "He almost linked it," he said. "If he had managed to connect these crystals to the main tier, we would have had a web of portals across the whole planet." "Yeah," Peter said. "Let's not do that." Diana looked around the wrecked warehouse. Men lay tied, unconscious, or staring in shock. The rich buyers who had not passed out were trying to crawl away quietly. She gave them a glare that made them freeze. "Is anyone hurt?" she asked. "A few bruised egos," Peter said. "And the black market." Strange stepped to the table and looked down at the cooled crystals. "Pieces of a multiversal core," he said. "Broken, but not harmless. This world needs better locks." "Your world," Barry said. "And ours. This could have spread to my home too, right?" Strange nodded. "Potentially," he said. "Brainiac does not care which Earth he catalogues first." Cyborg looked at the hooded man. "Who gave you this?" he asked. The man groaned. The lasso glowed around his chest as Diana tightened it. "Tell the truth," she said. "Some bald guy," the man gasped. "In a suit. He had this little drone. A skull. Said he had more. Said he would give us a cut if we moved it. Said the heroes here were too slow to stop us." Lex again, Victor thought. "Of course." Barry rubbed his face. "Okay," he said. "So Brainiac's pieces are on the street. Lex is here, messing with local jerks. The tear is leaking, and we almost had a portal party in the middle of New York." Peter raised a hand. "On the plus side," he said, "the shawarma was good." Diana shook her head, but a tiny smile tugged at her mouth. Strange opened a portal back to the Avengers base. "We need to secure these crystals," he said, "somewhere layered with spells and tech. And we need to tell everyone that our little sidewalk just turned into a major lead." Barry looked longingly at the food cart outside. Then he stepped through the portal, staff in hand, stomach still half full. As the portal closed, the dockside went quiet again. Only the sound of distant waves and sirens approached now. High above, at the edge of space, faint threads stretched from the main tier toward the places where the crystals had flared. The universes had brushed, then parted. Strange had patched the immediate wounds, but the scar was still there. Back at the Avengers base, the debrief room felt even more crowded. Tony paced, holding one of the now dark crystals behind a thick glass tube. Strange had layered it with glowing runes. Cyborg monitored it with scanners. "So let me get this straight," Tony said. "While the grown-ups were arguing about laws, Bald Evil from your world started selling pieces of our multiversal problem in my city." "That is correct," Batman said. He had arrived the moment Strange called. His jaw was clenched. Fury glared at him. "And you didn't think to mention that one of your worst villains might have come through with you?" he asked. "We weren't sure," Superman said. "We saw something. But there was a war, and the core, and now he's here," Fury cut in. "Dropping god bombs into my black market. Great." Steve looked at Barry, Diana, Victor, and Peter. "You did good," he said. "You stopped the sale and cut the link. It could have been much, much worse." "It still might be," Strange said. "We stopped this batch, but the fact that these fragments made it to the street means the problem is spreading. The tear has ripples. People like Luthor will ride them." Cyborg pulled up a map. Small dots lit up in different colors. "I tracked the energy spikes from the crystals," he said. "A few echoes popped up in other parts of the world. Nothing as bad as the warehouse, but signals, flashes." "Can Brainiac use those to come through?" Steve asked. "Not alone," Victor said. "Not yet, but he can see through them. Learn your world's weak points. And if Lex keeps selling, or others start copying the tech, we'll get more events like this, bigger ones." Fury rubbed his forehead. "So this isn't just a save the day and go home situation," he said. "This is long-term, messy, political." "When is it not?" Natasha said softly. Thor looked at Superman. "Your enemies are cunning," he said. "They seek to own power, not merely smash with it. They remind me of some men I have known." Superman nodded slowly. "And yours are creative," he said. "We've both made many mistakes. If our worlds are linked now, then so are those mistakes." Steve tapped the table. "We have to treat every piece of this multiversal tech as a top-level threat," he said. "Lock it down. Use both our teams to find it. No more auctions. No more shadow games." Batman's eyes were shadowed. "Luthor is not just selling for money," he said. "He is testing, measuring your law enforcement, your heroes, seeing how you react. He will adjust his plans based on tonight." "Let him adjust," Tony said. "We'll adjust harder." Fury gave him a look. Stark. Tony held up his hands. I know. No unilateral action. I heard the memo. But we're past the point of thinking inside the box. This is a multiverse problem. So we build a multiverse task force." Strange blinked. "You just jump to that like it's a normal suggestion," he said. Tony shrugged. "We already have Avengers. They have a league. Put some of both on a joint team, focused only on this tear, Brainiac, and any cross-world nonsense. Give them access to all the toys. Let them move fast. Oh, and maybe feed them once in a while so Flash doesn't mug my vending machines. Barry opened his mouth, closed it. I only mugged one, he said, so far. Steve thought about it. It makes sense, he said. A dedicated group with clear rules, working across both worlds, report back to both councils, focused on the boundary. Batman nodded slowly. Call it what you want, he said, but we need something like that. Otherwise, we will drown in side threats while Brainiac and Luthor move 2 steps ahead. Strange sighed. Very well, he said. I will serve as magical oversight. Cyborg can handle the digital. Stark, if you must, the tech. Between us, perhaps we can keep the walls from falling. Name could use work, Barry said. Multiverse Boundary Task Force doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. Work on branding later, Natasha said. For now, get some sleep. Eat. The next wave will come soon enough. Barry looked hopeful. Eat, he repeated. Tony slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a printed bill from the shawarma place. First, we settle accounts, Tony said. Apparently Batman's card triggered all my fraud alarms. Barry winced. How bad is it? Tony smirked. Let's just say the next time you want shawarma, you'll work in the grill. Steve smiled, just a little. Outside, the city kept moving. People ate dinner, put kids to bed, worked night shifts. Most of them would never know how close they had come to seeing another world through a tear in their own sky. But some kids did look up, at the scar in the clouds where the tear had been. They traced it in the air with their fingers. They told each other stories about heroes from another universe and about what might come through next. Weeks passed. The scar in the sky over New York faded, but it never went away. On clear days, if you looked up at the right time, you could see a thin, pale line where the clouds bent in a way they shouldn't. Most people told themselves it was just a trick of the light. The heroes knew better. Superman woke above a burning forest in South America. He had gone to sleep in a small room in the Avengers base, listening to the hum of strange machines. Then an alarm tugged him from rest. Now he floated over a wall of fire that took up half the horizon. Wind roared. Flames reached for the sky. Animals ran in panic. Superman drew in the sunlight and breathed out frost. A wave of white spread from his mouth, lowering the heat. He flew along the fire line, freezing patches so local firefighters could move in. Helicopters circled, but they stayed far away from him, as if he was another dangerous object in the sky. He understood. They did not know him yet. Trust took time. His earpiece crackled. "This is Cap," Steve said. "Status, Superman?" "Main fire is under control," Clark answered. He watched a trapped jaguar bolt past a cooled patch and disappear into trees. Looks like it was started by one of Brainiac's old drones crashing. The core is dead, but the impact lit the forest. No further tech threat. "Copy that," Steve said. "We'll send a team to collect the remains." Superman put out the last of the flames, then hung in the air for a moment. He watched smoke rise into the sky. Somewhere above those clouds, past the edges of this atmosphere, was the tear, the place where his universe and this one touched. He felt pulled toward it, even when he was on the ground. In Atlantis, Arthur Curry stood before a group of Marvel World Atlanteans. They were similar to his people, but not the same. Their city had different shapes, different colors, different scars. Their king was not him. Their history did not match what he knew, but their water still felt like home. "I am Arthur Curry," he said, "King of Atlantis from another Earth. I did not come to rule you. I came to warn you. There is a threat that moves between worlds. It may come for your oceans next." The other king watched him from a coral throne. "You think we cannot defend ourselves?" he asked. Arthur smirked. "I know you can," he said, "but even kings need to know when a storm is coming." He showed them images of Brainiac's skull ships over his own seas. He talked about bottled cities and stolen oceans. He watched pride and anger move over their faces. At the end, the other king stood. "We do not bow to surface law," he said, "but we will fight to keep our waters free. If this Brainiac comes, we will stand with you." Arthur felt some of his own anger ease. Maybe this other ocean would not be conquered the way his had almost been. On the ground, in busy cities, Flash became a blur of red between disasters. He helped Spider-Man clear rubble after a building collapse. He ran vaccines across borders faster than planes. He brought strange rare herbs for spells and grabbed snacks from 3 countries on the way. He also got a lot of messages about one thing: bills. Tony sent him digital reminders with jokes attached. "Speedster, you have an unpaid shawarma tab." "Speedster, Batman's card is not a magic money tree." "Speedster, stop staring at the vending machines." Barry paid some of them by doing work. He ran data cables for Stark's new lab in minutes. He tested defenses by trying to break into secure rooms before Friday could lock them. He even worked a shift at the shawarma stand, moving so fast the cook almost cried with joy at how many orders he finished. The running gag became real. When heroes walked past a food place in New York, someone almost always said, "Careful, the Flash might eat you out of business." Barry took it as a badge of honor. Above it all, a structure grew at the edge of space. It started as the Justice League's watchtower, dragged through the tear with them. Then Stark added modules, sleek metal shapes with glowing blue strips. Wakanda added shield projectors. Strange added floating rings that hummed with magic. From a distance, it looked like a small city in orbit, hanging at the place where the 2 universes' rules met. Half of it drew power from the Marvel sun. Half of it drew from strange crystals linked to the DC side. They called it many names: the Boundary Station, the Gate, the Watch. Most people just called it Up There. Inside, a joint team moved through bright halls. Avengers walked past League members. Techs from SHIELD checked consoles next to Lantern Corps officers. Sorcerers shared space with scientists. It was not always peaceful. There were arguments about who used which lab and whose coffee was better. But it worked, for now. Batman hated it, not because it existed. That part made tactical sense. A station at the border was necessary. It gave them eyes on the tear. It gave them a place to intercept threats. He hated it because it felt like a line he had spent his whole life avoiding. Too much power in one place. Too many systems tied together. Too many chances for someone to think, "We can control everything from here." He stood in a darkened chamber near the station's core, cape wrapped around him. On the far wall, an observation window showed the tear. It looked like a wound in space, a slow swirl of light between nothing and something. He heard footsteps behind him. "Talking to the hole in reality again?" Tony Stark asked. Batman did not turn. "Watching it," he said. Tony came to stand beside him, hands in his pockets. "I have to admit, it's growing on me," he said, in a terrifying, one wrong push and we all die kind of way. "You built half of this place," Bruce said. "You know exactly how terrifying it is." Tony's smile faded. "You're worried someone will use it," he said, "as a throne, as a weapon." "I'm worried about everyone," Batman said. "Strange, the League, the Avengers, you, me. This much power invites temptation." Tony was quiet for a moment. Yeah, he said softly. Been there. A ripple went through the view. The tear brightened, just for a second. Batman's eyes narrowed. Strange, he said into his comm. We have movement. Strange's voice came back, calm but alert. I see it, he said. Keep eyes on. Do not engage. Something is approaching. The light at the center of the tear thickened. It did not look like Brainiac's cold green, or the harsh blue of Stark Tech, or the soft white of Superman's heat vision. It looked older. A shape stepped through. It was not a body like theirs. It was more like a presence. A tall, robed figure with no clear face. Only 3 glowing circles where eyes might be. Law and judgment radiated from it like heat from a star. Tony stared. Okay, he said. That's new. Strange opened a portal into the chamber and stepped out, cloak swirling. Everyone stay calm, he said, though his voice was tighter than usual. This is not an attack. Not yet. The figure's voice was not sound. It was thought filling the room. You have disturbed the balance, it said. 2 prime realities now touch. This was not intended. Batman's fist curled. Who are you? He asked. The living tribunal, the thought replied. Judge of cosmic order. Guardian of the multiverse. Tony swallowed. And here I thought my job title was long, he muttered. The tribunal's attention shifted, but not like a head turning. More like gravity leaning. You have stopped one threat, it said. Brainiac's attempt to catalogue and fix creation. You have also created a new state. 2 worlds linked. Many paths now exist that did not before. We didn't do it on purpose, Superman said as he flew into the chamber, drawn by the same alarm. He hovered for a second, then landed on the floor to show respect. We were trying to stop him. He forced the breach. Intent matters little, the tribunal said. Consequence matters more. Strange stepped forward. What do you want? He asked. If you plan to erase one of these realities or close the tear with a snap, you could have done it without talking to us. The tribunal seemed to consider this. Light pulsed on its face. The convergence has already happened, it said. To undo it now would cause greater damage. Instead, a new role must be filled. Batman felt his stomach sink. He knew where this was going. You stand at the boundary, the tribunal went on. You hold power from both sides. You have shown willingness to fight for others. I offer you a position. It was not speaking only to Strange. The weight of its presence settled on Superman, on Batman, on Tony, on Strange. Others in the station felt it too. Wonder Woman in a training room, Cap in the command center. Become custodians of the convergence, the tribunal said. Guardians of the boundary. I will grant you greater sight, greater understanding, the ability to shape how these realities touch. Tony's eyes widened. You're offering us admin rights to the multiverse, he said. In limited form, the tribunal answered, with responsibility, with consequence. Batman heard the unspoken part. Power like that could fix things. End wars before they started. Stop monsters before they rose. It could also break everything if used wrong. What happens if we say no? Superman asked. Then the convergence remains unguarded, the tribunal said. Others will come. Some will seek to own this place. Some will seek to end it. You will still fight, but you will fight blind. And if we say yes? Strange asked quietly. Then you become a wall, the tribunal said. A door. You will see threats before they arrive. You will guide what passes and what does not. You may, in time, be tempted to do more. There it was. Batman stepped forward. We're already tempted, he said. Every time we see a world hurt, we want to fix it. Give us more power, and that temptation grows. What stops us from becoming another Brainiac, another Ultron? The tribunal's circles pulsed. You, it said simply. Your choices, your laws. We're human, Tony said, or close enough. We're not built to hold that kind of power without cracking. You are also the one standing here, the tribunal said. No sky without stars, no sea without waves. The multiverse cannot be perfectly still, but it can be guided. Silence filled the chamber. Superman felt the offer tug at him. He saw, in his mind, wars stopped before they started. Cities saved before earthquakes hit. Worlds where Krypton had not died because someone had seen it coming and stepped in. He also saw cages. He saw souls pressed into shapes chosen for them. I want to save everyone, he said softly. I always have. But I don't get to write their lives. That's not my job. Same, Steve's voice said from the doorway. He had arrived with Natasha and Carol, faces set. We fight so people can choose, not so we can choose for them. Strange nodded. My oath was to protect this reality, not rule it, he said. I can stretch that too. Realities, perhaps, but not to writing their scripts. You're saying no? Tony asked. I'm saying we define the offer, Strange said. He looked up at the tribunal. We will stand at the boundary. We will watch. We will fight when needed. We will use the tools we have. But we will not rewrite worlds. We will not become gods of two universes. If that is a condition, then we refuse. The chamber held its breath. The tribunal was silent for a long time. Light moved over its form like thinking. Guardian, not ruler, it said at last. That is acceptable. Batman frowned. What's the difference? He asked. Choice, the tribunal answered. You may block invaders. You may close paths that break laws you have sworn to uphold. You may not force harmless realities to match your wishes. You may not erase worlds for being untidy. Tony let out a slow breath. Okay, he said. That's more my speed. Superman nodded. Then we accept that, he said. We will stand here. We will watch. We will protect. But we stay who we are. The tribunal raised a hand. Light flowed from its circles, passing through Strange, Superman, Batman, Tony, and Steve. Like a wind that did not move hair or fabric, they all felt something. Not new muscles or new blasts, more like new doors in their minds, understanding of patterns between worlds, subtle paths where energy could slip through the tear. You are now tied to this place, the tribunal said. As long as the convergence exists, you will feel its changes. Use that sense wisely. The light faded. The figure stepped back through the tear. Space closed around it. The scar remained, but it felt different now. Less like a raw wound, more like a scar with nerves still healing. Tony exhaled. Well, he said, that was fun. Who wants to tell Fury we just agreed to be part-time cosmic hall monitors? Batman gave him a look. You can, he said. Steve stepped forward, pressing his hand against the glass, looking at the place where the tribunal had vanished. Guardian, not ruler, he repeated. I can live with that. So can I, Superman said. Strange looked tired, but a small smile tugged at his mouth. I suggest we write down very clear rules, he said, for ourselves, before anyone else tries to. Batman nodded. Already working on them. Tony groaned. Of course you are. The villain's offer came later, not in a grand cosmic chamber, but in a quiet corner of the station, in a small room where only one person stood. Batman had just finished reviewing surveillance footage of Lex's last known movements in this universe. The man had gone dark, which meant he was planning something big. He turned off the screen and saw a reflection that was not his own. A hologram flickered to life in the air. A bald head, sharp eyes, a mouth that never seemed to fully smile. "Hello, Bruce," Lex Luthor said. Batman did not startle. "Lex," he said, "you're far from home." "So are you," Lex answered. "But unlike you, I see what this place can be." Batman said nothing. Lex walked slowly around the room, eyes glancing at the walls, the consoles, the faint glow from the tear outside. "Two worlds," Lex said. "Two histories, two sets of mistakes. But now, one intersection. One place where the future can be guided. You heard the cosmic judge. Someone will rule this convergence. If not you, then others. People less careful. We chose not to rule," Batman said. Lex laughed softly. "Of course you did," he said. "You and Superman and your new friends. So noble, so small." He stopped, looking directly at Bruce. "What if I told you there is a way to remove Superman from the equation?" Lex asked. "Not by killing him, by making him unnecessary, by building systems between worlds so strong, so efficient, that no one needs a man in a cape to save them." Batman's jaw clenched. "You're talking about control," he said, "about a cage." "I'm talking about peace," Lex replied. "Real peace. No more alien invasions, no more skull ships, no more gods on the evening news. I can do it, Bruce. With your mind, my resources, and this convergence, we can shape the rules themselves." "By whose authority?" Batman asked. "Yours? Mine?" Lex's eyes glinted. "By necessity," he said. "The people will thank us once they see the results." Batman thought of the tribunal's warning, of Brainiac's cold voice, of Ultron, of every would-be savior who had tried to impose their vision on a world for its own good. "No," he said. Lex raised an eyebrow. "You don't even want to hear the plan?" he asked. "I've heard it before," Batman said. "From you, from others. It always ends the same way." "With order?" Lex asked. "With graves," Batman said. Lex's smile faded. "You're wasting your potential," he said. "When this goes wrong, and it will, you'll wish you had listened." The hologram flickered. "Tell Clark I said hello," Lex added. "Tell him he has ruined another universe just by existing." Then he was gone. Batman stood alone in the small room, the echo of the offer still in the air. He walked to the window and looked out at the tear. "We will not become you," he said quietly. "Not here, not anywhere." The choice was made. They wrote the rules. On the station, in a high room that looked out on stars from both universes, representatives sat around a table. League, Avengers, magic users, tech heads. A few non-powered humans, there to remind them who they served. They agreed on simple things first. No using the boundary to invade another world. No stealing tech from one universe to dominate another. No erasing timelines for convenience. They argued about harder questions. What counted as an invasion? What if one world asked for help against its own government? What if a threat was born between worlds with no clear home? They did not solve everything in one session. They did not pretend they could, but they set a direction. Guardians, not rulers. Weeks later, Superman and Steve stood at the edge of the station's main viewing deck. The glass stretched from floor to ceiling. On one side, the Marvel Earth turned slowly, blue and green and familiar to Steve. On the other, faint and slightly out of sync, the DC Earth hung. Same shape, different scars. The tear shimmered between them, quiet but present. Strange's rings spun around it, keeping it calm. Below them, they could see tiny flashes of light on both worlds. Lightning over an ocean, city lights coming on as evening moved. Looks peaceful from up here, Steve said. It usually does, Superman answered. Even when it isn't. They stood in silence for a moment. You miss your Earth, Steve said. Every minute, Superman said. But I'm starting to care about this one too. That's confusing. Steve smiled faintly. You're not alone, he said. I have a feeling half your team feels the same. What about you? Clark asked. Would you leave if you could? Go somewhere without all this, a quiet world. Steve thought of Peggy, of dancing, of a small life he had once wanted. No, he said. This is my mess. I stay with it. Superman nodded. Same, he said. Batman stepped out of the shadows behind them. He had a talent for appearing without sound, even in a space station. Fury wants an update on the new sensor grid, he said. And John says the Martian embassy on your Earth is ready to receive visitors. He mentioned something about cookies. Steve blinked. You have a Martian embassy? He asked. Superman smiled. You're going to like John, he said. He's quieter than Batman. That would be a nice change, Tony's voice called from down the hall. Batman gave a tiny huff. Steve looked back at the two Earths. You know, he said, when I woke up in this century, I thought the world couldn't get any stranger. And now you're standing between two of them, Superman said. Steve laughed quietly. Yeah, he said, but I'm not standing alone. They watched the worlds turn. Somewhere in the darkness beyond sight, a fragment of Brainiac's code crawled along a forgotten cable. Somewhere else, Lex Luthor met with a man in a metal mask and a god with a crooked smile. The future was not safe, but the boundary was not empty. It had guardians now. The shawarma place had to move tables outside. The owner had not expected this. He had started his little shop years ago, never thinking it would become a favorite of gods and soldiers. The first time a group of Avengers had sat at his plastic chairs, he had almost fainted. Now, with the Justice League in the mix, he needed more seating. Plastic chairs filled the sidewalk. The air was warm. Cars honked in the distance. A few people walked by and did double takes at the sight of so many heroes eating more or less calmly. Flash sat at the center of one table, surrounded by plates. Shawarma, pizza slices, fries, something spicy from a nearby stall, a milkshake that was already half empty even though he had gotten it 10 seconds ago. Slow down, Wonder Woman said. You'll make yourself sick. Barry shook his head, mouth full. Can't, he said. Fast metabolism. It's science. Spider-Man sat on the back of his chair, mask up just enough to eat. I still don't understand where it all goes, he said. Tony dropped into a chair beside them, setting down a stack of papers. As your unofficial accountant, I can tell you exactly where it goes, he said. Into my wallet. He waved the stack. It was another bill. Barry groaned. Come on, he said. I work shifts. I ran your cables. I even cleaned the vents in the Avengers kitchen. That was a nightmare, by the way. I know, Tony said. Which is why I'm only joking. Mostly. He slid the papers to the side. Relax, Speedy. Between Stark Industries and Wayne Money, the food tab is covered. Batman stood at the edge of the group, arms folded, cape draped carefully so it did not knock anything over. You are not making a habit of this, he said. Too late, Barry said. Across from them, Steve sat with his shield leaning against the table. He held a simple sandwich, eating slowly. Beside him, Natasha nursed a cup of coffee. Bruce Banner picked at a plate of rice. Superman took small bites of his food, not because he needed it, but because he knew sharing a meal mattered. It made him part of the group in a way battles never did. Diana watched the street more than her plate. She smiled when she saw a group of kids on the corner. They were playing heroes, running around with capes made from towels. 2 kids wore red towels for capes and pretended to fly. One had a toy hammer. One had a plastic shield. One had drawn an S on his shirt with a marker. Another had taped a paper bat to his chest. They argued loudly about who got to be from the other universe today. No fair, you were Superman yesterday. Yeah, but you were Iron Man twice. I want to be the wizard guy with the cape. Which one? There's like 3. The heroes at the table watched them and smiled. On a small TV inside the shop, a news channel ran a story about the Boundary Station. A calm voice said, "Officials from around the world, and apparently from another world, have confirmed the creation of a joint facility in orbit. They say its purpose is to monitor and protect the link between realities, not to control Earth. Opinions are divided, but for now, most people seem relieved that someone is watching the sky." A guest on the show argued that it was dangerous to put so much power there. Another said it was better than leaving the tear alone. Outside, Tony raised his drink. "To terrible PR," he said, "and to doing the job anyway." Steve lifted his glass of water. "To working together," he said. Superman lifted his own cup. "To guarding, not ruling," he added. Barry raised his milkshake. "To food," he said. "Saving worlds burns a lot of calories." Everyone laughed. They clinked cups and glasses and bottles. Peter waved his soda can. "To me, finally getting a night where nobody drops a building on my head," he said. Natasha smirked. "Don't jinx it." Further down the row of tables, Strange sat with Wong and Cyborg. They talked, quietly, about runes and firewalls. Every now and then, Strange's gaze drifted upward, as if he could see the tear through the city lights. At another table, Thor taught Aquaman how to arm wrestle a Hulk without breaking the table. Hulk watched, ready to join in if someone promised more food. Bruce Wayne accepted a small paper cup of coffee from the shop owner. "On the house," the man said, "for all the work you do." Bruce nodded. "Thank you," he said. He tucked a thick envelope of cash under the counter when the man wasn't looking. The city moved around them. Cars drove by. Someone's phone rang with a silly ringtone. A dog barked at Hulk, and then hid behind a bench when Hulk barked back playfully. For a moment, it felt normal. At the edge of the sidewalk, a boy with a plastic bat symbol on his chest looked up. He saw Superman and Captain America and Batman and Iron Man at the same table. His eyes went wide. He nudged his friend. "Look," he whispered, "they're real." His friend shrugged. "Yeah," he said. "They eat too." The first boy smiled. "If they're up there," he said, pointing at the sky, "and down here, maybe we're going to be okay." Above the city, the scar in the clouds glowed faintly, then calmed. Up on the station, alarm stayed quiet. For now, the tear pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm. Somewhere far away, Brainiac plotted. Lex schemed. Other eyes watched. At the shawarma table, Barry took another bite and sighed with happiness. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we should make sure this place survives. Saving the multiverse is important, but so is this garlic sauce." Superman laughed. Steve shook his head, smiling. Batman almost smiled too. At the very edge of space, Uatu the Watcher hovered, gaze fixed on the little restaurant lit up against the night. He saw heroes eating, kids playing, worlds turning. He did not speak. He simply watched as life in 2 universes went on. Different now, but still moving forward. The boundary had changed everything. But people still ate and laughed and looked up at the sky. And somewhere between the stars, a small group of guardians stood watch, ready for whatever story came next.